The piano music you just heard is your signal to settle into your seats and prepare for the start of our worship service. I'm Sarah, and I am so happy to be here with you all today. Before we begin, I'd like to call your attention to our Sunday handout. And here are a few announcements. We have got we've got some information for getting involved with TXUU Justice Ministries, information on the movie night on Tuesdays at the library. They're looking for nominations for board members, and this is particularly time sensitive. But next Sunday, instead of a service, and instead of being here, we're going to have a picnic in the park. So while you are silencing your devices, you may want to go ahead and put that in your calendar for April 2nd. Let's see. And also, of course, we still have our COVID contact tracing. So if you fall ill this week, please send an email to our board president, and let's make sure that if anyone gets exposed, that we can try to contain it. And we had one from Molly Hornbuckle. She's going to come up and help us out with that.
Good morning. I'm Molly Hornbuckle. Couple of pieces of good news. No, we're not contact tracing for COVID anymore. I'm not checking on it. If you want to know, I put a website in the newsletter. If you want to admit to me that you don't read my articles, talk to me after church and I'll tell you the place that you go every week, and they will show you what's going on in Williamson County with that. Second thing, the picnic. We've got some grill masters who are going to do the hot dogs and the hamburgers for you. So I think that's great news. I can already smell it. Last thing, you'll notice in here, we have a nominations team that has just met for the first time, and they're going to be seeking recommendations for you, people that you know in the congregation who you think would make good board members. You are just putting their names out there for the team to consider. You might even be thinking, I could do that. Put your own name down. And I'm here to tell you that you could, and you would enjoy it. Thanks.
Evidently, we need to update our script. Okay. So now let us begin. Good morning, and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you're in the sanctuary or watching at home, we are so glad you're here. My name is Sarah Smith, and my pronouns are up for interpretation. In my time at San Gabriel, I have led both RE and Sunday services teams. I'm now involved with Sunday morning's tech team and our Budding Artists in Bloom project. San Gabriel is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and if you'd like to know more about us and learn about upcoming events, please go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. We especially welcome new visitors, and when it's time for the offertory, you need not worry about contributing. If it's your first time with us today, your presence is your gift. And please know that whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. Let's greet this day in song. Our opening hymn is number 305 in the gray hymnal. It's De Colores. Please rise in body or spirit. The music is in the gray hymnal and the lyrics will be projected.
Let us now light the chalice, the symbol of our faith, and with the words from your very own Reverend Jamie. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, for the promise of a new day, for the renewal of belonging, for the connection between and beyond all that is, all that was, and all that is yet to come. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul to greet this day. And good morning. I'm Carrie Holly Hurt. I'm the intern minister at Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church, but this morning I get to be with you, and that's wonderful, because being with my UU community is always the place I want to be. I'd like to start the worship service with a call to worship from Reverend Sharon Wiley. It is said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I say we are all afflicted and we are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May we here find peace in times of unrest. May we here invite unrest into the lives of peace. May we here find calm in the time of restlessness. May we here allow restlessness to evolve into action. Let this be a place you consider that you've never considered before. Let this be a place you imagine for yourself, something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being into this world. Come, let us worship together.
It's now time for our affirmation. Our affirmation is an expression of our covenant with each other. Please read after me as the words are projected. The doctrine of this church is love. The quest of truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. And now it is time for a Wonder Box with Karina.
Hello, everyone. What could possibly be in here today? It's not giving us a lot of hints, but I appreciate your guesses as we help each other learn and grow. Does anybody have any stickers? Wild seeds? Seeds? I love how you all are always going. I love your faith in that whatever is in here has something to do with the theme of what's going on in the world right now. And sometimes it does, but unfortunately, not today. I swear it's clean, it's new. What could it possibly be? You know, that with a little bit of imagination, it can become something else, right? If I added ears and eyes, what animal comes to mind? Anything? Any guesses? Rover. Rover, I hear that. All right. This was a stretch today. So let's see what our story has in store for us about black socks, maybe.
Black Dog, written and illustrated by Levi Pinfold, published by Candlewick Press. One day, a black dog came to visit the Hope family. Mr. Hope was the first to see it. "My goodness," he cried, dropping his toast. He didn't waste any time in calling the police. "There's a black dog the size of a tiger outside my house," he told the policeman. The policeman laughed. "What should I do?" asked Mr. Hope. "Don't go outside," said the policeman, and put down the phone. Mrs. Hope was next to get up. "My goodness," she cried, dropping her mug of tea. She didn't waste any time in calling for Mr. Hope. "Did you know there's a black dog the size of an elephant outside?" she yelled. "Yes," said Mr. Hope. "What should we do?" "Turn out the lights so it doesn't know we're here," said Mr. Hope. Adeline Hope was next to get up. "My goodness," she cried, dropping her toothbrush. She didn't waste any time in calling for her parents. "Did you know there's a black dog the size of a T-Rex outside?" "Yes," said Mr. Hope and Mrs. Hope together. "What should we do?" "Close the curtains so it can't see us." Maurice Hope was next to get up. "My goodness," he cried, dropping his teddy bear. He didn't waste any time in calling for the family. "Did you know there's a black dog the size of a big Jeffy outside?" "What's a big Jeffy?" said Adeline. "Never mind now. What should we do?" demanded Maurice Hope. "Hide under covers," they all wailed. It was then that the youngest member of the Hope family, called Small for short, noticed that there was something going on. "What are you all doing under there?" "We're hiding from the black dog," they whispered. "Oh, you are all such sillies," said Small, opening the door. "Don't go out there," cried her family. "The hound will eat you up. It'll munch your head. It'll crunch your bones." But Small went anyway. Outside, the black dog leaned down toward her and breathed. "Golly, you are big," said Small. "What are you doing here, you guffin?" The black dog snuffed at her. "All right then," she said. "If you're going to eat me, you're going to have to catch me first." And with that, she scurried into the lowering trees. As she ran, she made up a song. "You can't follow where I go unless you shrink, or don't you know?" The black dog followed. As Small hurried toward the frozen pond under the little bridge and over the ice, she sang, "Your paws are thick, ice is thin, a great big dog just might fall in." And the black dog followed. Next, she scuttled through the playground, down the slide and around the merry-go-round, singing, "You might be big, I may be small, but I'm not afraid of you at all." And still the black dog followed. Finally, Small had run all the way back to the house. "You'll find out why they all hide if you follow me inside." And with that, Small tumbled into her warm home through the cat flap. She really was that small. And so, by now, was the black dog. Inside, Small grabbed a laundry basket, and as the black dog scrambled in behind her, she covered him with a loud "Ha!" Just then, the rest of the Hope family popped up from behind their barricade. "You haven't been Munch," cried Mrs. Hope. "You haven't been Crunch," cheered Mr. Hope. "You haven't been Eaten," yelled Maurice Hope, missing a poetic opportunity. "But where's the black dog?" asked Adeline. And without a word, Small lifted the basket. The rest of the Hope family was extremely pleased to see that the black dog was neither as huge nor as scary as they had feared. "He doesn't seem fierce at all now that I really look at him," said Mr. Hope. The rest of the family agreed. "We were silly," said Adeline. "Only Small knew the right thing to do." Everyone was quiet for a while, thinking about how brave Small had been. "You've got a lot of courage facing up to a big, fearsome thing like that," said Mrs. Hope. "There was nothing to be scared of, you know," replied Small Hope, as she went to sit by the fire, and the black dog followed. The end.
So that dog wasn't quite as scary as it had seemed to begin with. Things are not always what they seem. Sometimes one thing is actually something else altogether. Reverend Carrie chose this story to be shared today, and there are many layers to it, especially in the context of a sermon about racism, about white supremacy. We have a white family, scared of something black outside, and being quick to call the police. We see a fear that grows and grows. We have one child who is unafraid, who happens to be called Small Hope, one small hope, who literally brings that fear down to size. But ultimately, what I take from this story is that change is possible. Our unconscious biases don't define us if we can be open to new teachings and experiences. I look forward to hearing more about what is going to be shared today by our guest in that regard. And I've got more black socks. They're at the back of the room, so if you're in a moving your hands kind of mood, you can come back there with me and we'll make some puppets together.
Thank you, Karina. It's time to sing together again, so please. What's that? Okay, then apparently my script is a little bit out of order.
It's 1741, and you're living in the British colony of Connecticut. It's Sunday, so you go to church. Today, the regular minister isn't there, but a fellow named Jonathan Edwards starts off in what will become one of the most famous sermons in U.S. history. The sermon is called "Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God." That's an evocative title. I should totally take notes. And I bet from that title you can guess what the sermon was about. But we're curious people, so let me just read one of the many terrifying gems. "The God that holds you over the pit of hell as one holds a spider or some loathsome insect over the fire abhors you and is dreadfully provoked. His wrath toward you burns like fire, and he looks upon you as worthy of nothing else but to be cast into the fire. That is so scary. It's like really scary. But it's also really effective. I mean, people heard this sermon of sheer fear and shame, and they started converting right and left. But not the Unitarians. They said, as we say now, no thank you. We won't be emotionally manipulated by you. We won't be shamed. We're going to stay studied, and we're going to stay rational. And in a lot of ways, they were like small hope. This rationality and this idea that we have a free and responsible search for truth and meaning is deeply embedded into our DNA. And some of you, like myself, came to Unitarian Universalism because we were exposed to that sort of message that Edwards preached. And we found our courage to say, no, thank you. I won't be shamed. This is important and sacred part of our faith. And yet, if we hold too firmly to this, too firmly to our need to stay only rational, only intellectual, it can get in the way of the work of dismantling systems of supremacy in ourselves. As Unitarian Universalists, we have a long and beautiful history of doing this work, the work of justice, the work of the beloved community. But if we stay in our head about racism and other forms of supremacy, we're just absorbing what people tell us, which means we keep it theoretical and we keep it at arm's length. Or worse, we get defensive. These reactions are not going to get us where we're trying to go. This morning, I want to share with you my own journey in this work, the work of dismantling racism and other forms of supremacy in myself. Now, as a white person, this journey is specific to my whiteness. However, my desire is not to center whiteness in this sermon, which is why I called on the lessons of the colleagues of color that I have and the wisdom of my anti-racism coach. And what I've learned is that all of us are required to do this work, but the work you need to do depends on where you come from. So first, let me acknowledge where I come from. I'm a middle-aged, middle-class white woman. I hold some identities that are marginalized, but the color of my skin has never been one. And just like you, I have been raised in the waters of white supremacy, heteropatriarchy, my entire life. This means I've grown up in a culture that tells me in a million different ways that white is the best, is the norm, is the standard. That heterosexuality is the best, is the norm, is the standard. That being a cis man is the best, is the norm, is the standard. My privilege as a white person limits my perception, which means I'm going to miss some things in this sermon. I'm going to make mistakes. And one day I may revisit it and just cringe. Because, as Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we will be doing better. And by then, I will be doing better. Systems of supremacy have a thick foundation of harm and exploitation of people who aren't part of the norm. They're perpetuated through all manners of violence and marginalization throughout history and today. And supremacy is alive and well in Unitarian Universalism. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can learn about this from UU professionals of colors who contributed to a book called Centering. In this book, these religious professionals share the impact of racism and sexism on them and their ministry. They report having to minister to people while being directly harmed by them through microaggressions, or struggling to find a call because they are seen as a person who can't minister to everyone, as if white is the standard that fits all spaces. Even if we don't have these lived experiences, Many of us already know that this is going on, or at least we have an inkling of what's going on. We have an idea of what people of color in our culture face. And that's because a lot of us take the time to educate ourselves. And this is necessary because we grew up in an educational system that was full of erasure, erasing the harm of white supremacy, but also erasing the beauty and contributions of people of color, the LGBTQIA community, and women of all races. Education is so important. I'd never want to dissuade you of doing that. And I've learned from my colleagues of color that people of color benefit from centering their joy, centering their healing. So when white people educate ourselves and do the heavy work of dismantling racism in ourselves, we can make space for people of color in our congregations to have the space to center their joy, to center their healing. And all of us need to read deeply and broadly about pain that supremacy has caused, but also joy. For people of color, this might look like reading poetry from your community or listening to music or other art that nourishes you. But if the work is to be meaningful, we can't just stay in our heads seeking information. I started thinking about this work more as spiritual work when I realized I had been studying systems of supremacy formally and informally for over 20 years, and I still felt supremacy in me. Supremacist thoughts aimed outside of me and inside of me. It feels like a disease and I want it out. But I didn't know how, which is so frustrating. I wanted to move forward, but I felt stuck. Until I started to think about it differently. Through the work of people like Misha Hill of Check Your Privilege and the UU ministers who contributed to the book Soul Works, I started to view this work as spiritual work. Soul Work and other books and teachers inspired me to move past the head phase and start seeing how nothing was going to move in me until I treated supremacy as the spiritual problem it is. This work is spiritual work. So this morning, I'm here to beseech you to please start doing the spiritual work. Now, I do not assume to know what those of you that are a part of the global majority need. That's not my place. But I would urge you that if you are a person of color listening to me today, tend to yourself and think about what the next thing you need for your own spiritual nourishment. What will help you thrive? Thriving is your work. And for all of us, if we have an existing spiritual practice, let's see if we can incorporate healing from supremacy into that practice. And if we don't, let's start here. Start by creating a core-centered reason for doing this work. Why do you want to do this work? And I mean, because it's the right thing to do. You got to go beyond that. Yes, it's the right thing to do, but why? The answer that you create needs to be clear and compelling and deeply meaningful, because this work will get hard and you will be tempted to stop when things get uncomfortable. A good, compelling reason will help you stay in the discomfort, which is right where you need to be. Discomfort is where the growth happens. Entrenched in my own story is that feeling of discomfort, feeling deeply uncomfortable about having reactions to humans and myself that were dehumanizing. When I made the connection that those feelings and thoughts are the same feelings and thoughts that result in harm, violence, terrorism, I felt physically ill. I never want to align with a system that brings so much pain, so much destruction. The supremacy messages that I have been absorbing since birth, that we have all been absorbing since birth, damage our souls. This is why I do the work. And to do this work, to break from systems that cause so much pain, so much harm, I mean, that's so much more important than my own comfort. So dig deep. Even if you've been doing this work for ages, dig deep. Find the reason that will hold you through the next chapter of this work. Secondly, part of the work is to become aware of how supremacy comes up in you, how you experience it. Not just how it's experienced by others out there in the world, but you got to break from the theoretical. How is it actually coming up in you, in your body? This will not be comfortable, but you can do it. For the people of color in this room, is the spiritual practice that connects you, could it be a connection to your ancestors? What would nourish you? All of us need to pay attention to what comes up through our awareness, and then we have to sit with it. Don't rush to get comfortable. For those of you that are white, one tool that has helped me do the reflection was a book by Layla Saad called Me and White Supremacy. The book presents issues of white supremacy like tone policing, optical allyship, losing privilege, and then challenges you to dig deep into your own history. What are you holding? It's a very powerful awareness tool. Finally, we have to stay open. Some of us have been swimming in the white supremacy for decades and decades and decades. It's not surprising if it's inside of you. It's not surprising if you have supremacist reactions to people or to yourself because of race and sexuality, physical presentation, or gender. That's how the system is designed to work. But you have a deep responsibility to dismantle it, but not with shame. Shame shuts all of us down. Shame says, I'm a bad person at my core, and what I am holding is proof of that. This shuts down all the work, and you just stay trapped with all of that soul-harming supremacy in you. Bell Hooks wrote, shaming is one of the deepest tools of imperialist, white supremacy, capitalist patriarchy. Because shame produces trauma, and trauma produces paralysis. So we cannot do this work and be in shame. And I say this because awareness is going to bring up a lot for you. It's going to bring up a lot of emotions, and that's part of the process. You need to feel the emotions in order to heal. For people of color, I've learned from my mentors that discomfort can come up when you start to realize the ways in which you have assimilated white supremacy, heteropatriarchy. For all of us, as things start to come up, you might feel sad, afraid, frustrated, embarrassed. But this does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person living and existing in a world and a culture that is dominated by supremacist thought. We can see in our own feelings of sadness and hurt and embarrassment and sorrow and anger messages that tell us that these supremacist thoughts may be in you, but they are not you. When we do the work through a spiritual lens, when we see it as faith development, it takes us to a completely different result than if we just stay in our heads. In fact, when we do the spiritual work, we get more from the head work. The books we read, the podcasts we listen to, the stories we encounter will all more fully impact us. And we do the healing that will move us deeper into our wholeness as people and as a community. And we say, just like those 18th century Unitarians, no thank you to shame. We aren't doing this in darkness. We aren't hiding. We are doing this in community. This community is the place to do the work, and through our work, we are practicing the beloved community. Now, do I know how we're going to do this? No, not at all. Do I think we can do this? Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. We are people full of heart. We are people who are more than for the work that lies ahead of us. We are people who meet the time that we live in with hope and determination for a better world for everyone. Let us journey to wholeness together. Let me end with my favorite prophet, James Baldwin, from The Fire Next Time. Love takes off the mask that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. I use the word love here not merely in a personal sense, but as a state of being, a state of grace, not in the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough, universal sense of quest, daring, and growth. If you will, rise and body your spirit for hymn 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
We take an offering each week to sustain the space that we call home and to support the work of our fellowship. The offertory music today will be "We Are Building a New Way," and it will now be gratefully received, and we thank you.
We are building a new way. a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. A new way, a new way, a new
That was a bop. We're going to begin wrapping up our service now. But as we do that, we want to remember to thank our guest minister, Carrie. We want to thank our music folks, which was today Jackie, and whoever was involved with that video. We want to thank the tech team. We want to thank the folks back at the welcome table, and the folks who do our offertory, and of course, hospitality. Can't give enough shout out for the folks who make the coffee. We just want to make sure we reiterate a few of these announcements, particularly, next Sunday, because we won't be here. You would show up to an empty building. 10:30 at San Gabriel Park. We've got a pavilion set up. Another thing I missed in the first round was the index cards you see laying around. Michelle has told me if you turn your index cards in at the back table, you could win a prize. And thank you for helping us recognize women in history. And we have this one is one you want to get your calendars out for. This is literally life and death. Reverend Carrie is going to run us through this one because we can't give it enough attention.
Thank you. So it was Most of you probably know for the last few sessions, not just in Texas, but in the entire country, trans people, LGBTQIA people in general, but specifically trans people have been under attack. And in Texas, the last 2 sessions, children have been under attack. During the regular session and all 3 of the special sessions last time, they were unable to pass a bill that would prohibit gender-affirming care. It doesn't look like that's going to happen this time. SB 14, which would prohibit gender-affirming care, which would remove the license of physicians who practice gender-affirming care, and I believe would make it child abuse to provide your children with gender-affirming care, is going to be debated on the Senate floor Monday. Also on Monday, its companion bill in the House is going to be going to committee. We cannot let this happen. This is literally life and death. What we are asking people to do is, if you can physically make it down to the Capitol, you can go and drop a card. Now, that's antiquated language. You don't actually go and drop a card. What you do is you go up to a little device, or you bring your laptop, and you have to be on Capitol grounds if you bring your laptop, or you go to a device that is in the Capitol, and you go to the House side, which is the west side, and you go and you register that you are against HB 1686. It didn't make it into the announcements this week, so I just want y'all to be clear. It's HB 1686. At 1 p.m., there will be a rally, and we are asking for as many bodies as possible to be on the grounds. And then all day long, the Queer Alliance at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary is organizing a prayer vigil that will be going on from 8 a.m. till midnight. So if you just need some space, it's interfaith. I'll be one of the participants. There'll be lots of different people. So if you just want a place to just meditate, feel like you are part of the beloved community, please show up. It'll be in the outside rotunda, which is in the extension. If you have any questions about these words, please let me know. They make it hard on purpose. If you cannot physically be there, if you can call the House Public Health Committee, they're the ones that are going to be hearing HB 1686. If you can call them on Monday, ideally early, or email them, I can get you all of this information if you'd like, and just tell them that you are adamantly against this bill that will cause death. That would be wonderful. I have really bad eyesight. It looks like a really wonderful sign, though.
So your social justice team received word about this rally on Friday, so thank you very much for explaining all that. And if you want more information, contact Lou or I, or send an email to social.justice@sangabrielu, and we will provide you with more information as needed. As Reverend said, if you can't go to the rally, please call. The calls add up. They've got to hear our voice.
And they have to record them.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's extinguish our chalice, but not the chalice inside of our hearts, which serves as a beacon of hope. Emboldened by its blaze, we are reminded that our strength as a prophetic and powerful people is found when we come together at St. Gabriel, which is here in Georgetown to stay, no matter what may come our way. Now you are invited to coffee and conversation, and I look forward to meeting you all. Thank you.